I've always had an affinity for British cars. And over the years of collecting and dealing with British cars, one of the things that I had always aspired to was to own a Rolls-Royce.
I like all cars. Certainly, Rolls-Royce has the mystique behind it that many other cars, save except for maybe Ferrari, have.
What I enjoy and what I see and what I've learned about these vehicles is that the engineering has always been first class. And there's just something about the charm of these highly over-engineered vehicles that, keeps me interested in it. And then, of course, there is the mystique of the brand.
If you look at the names of Rolls-Royce models, Silver Ghost, Phantom, Spectre, Wraith, Silver Cloud, they all evoke thoughts of something ethereal, something very mysterious but silent, and you think of something just sort of gliding through the fog. So I'm Mark Lajewski. I'm the executive director for the Rolls-Royce Owners Club and the Rolls-Royce Foundation. We have two organizations on our campus here in Mechanicsburg, and I'm very fortunate to wear hats on both of them. So being the executive director of both organizations, it's an extreme honor. These are the proper motor cars, and I am the caretaker of the organizations that recognize them and celebrate them.
My name's George Wagman, and I'm the vice chair of the Rolls-Royce Foundation, and I also happen to be the chairman of the collections committee here at the museum. The collections committee entails taking care of the actual collection of cars here at the museum. We're responsible for the care and feeding of the vehicles, so we keep them clean, we maintain them. We exercise them by taking them out for drives. We also get to take that to the next level and do something for the community. So, we've done some community outreach. We help educate people about what this brand represents. And so people don't know a lot about them. And that's one of the things I enjoy about being involved with this organization, is that when we go out into the community, we're able to answer a lot of questions and give people the opportunity to see something that they don't normally get to see. And I enjoy the look in people's eyes when they see these cars. The Rolls-Royce and the Bentley brands have kind of a unique place in the history of automobiles. We've just recently gotten involved with an organization called Veterans Last Patrol. And what that does is it honors veterans in nursing homes. We go and visit them and spend some time with them, and we take our cars and we let them see the cars, sit in the cars, talk about the cars, and then we present a declaration to these veterans in thanks for their service to our country. One of the things that the Rolls-Royce Foundation has done is offered a vehicle to the Pennsylvania College of Technology as a restoration project. So here again, we have a Rolls-Royce in front of young people, and they're working on this vehicle, restoring it for the museum, and they're making progress on it, and they're learning unusual techniques because these vehicles were made 100 years ago, and they used much different techniques to build them back then than they do today.
Rolls-Royce prior to World War II, or 1946 actually, when the Bentley Mark VI came out, when you bought a Rolls-Royce, you did not get a body. Rolls-Royce didn't build bodies until after World War II. When Rolls-Royce was done with a car, it was an operational chassis without a body. Those chassis were then sent to a coach builder of the customer's choice, whether it be in the UK, whether it be in Europe, or here in America. Those cars didn't exist in a complete form until after it went to a coach builder. And then you as the customer would sit down with the coach builder and pick out a style of body that you wanted. It could either be a catalog style, they had a number of different, sedans and limousines and drop head coupes, or it could be something completely different that was a completely one-off. Like you would sit down today with an architect to build a custom house for you. So you could say, I want a 2-door coupe, I want a 4-door limousine with a chauffeur's compartment, I want, a roadster. And there were no safety laws, there were no Endangered Species Act. So as long as you were willing to pay somebody and find the craftsman, you could have, gold-plated knobs, you could have cheetah skin, you could have leopard skin or crocodile hide or whatever, ivory door handles. As long as you were willing to write the check, you could have that done.
This place gives you the opportunity to acquire an education about the vehicles, so you can understand them a little better and know what you're getting yourself into, because these are very complex automobiles. And the last thing you want to do is buy something that you don't understand and can require an excessive amount of maintenance. One of the cute sayings they have in this hobby is that these vehicles suffer from deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance means that the prior owner wasn't willing to step up to the plate and spend the money to maintain the vehicle properly.
For the history of Rolls-Royce and Bentley, Rolls-Royce was formed in 1904, and so in 2024 they'll be selling their 120th anniversary. And Henry Royce was an engineer who was extremely obsessed with making the car the best he could be. If a component took 6 bolts to attach it to a piece, they used 20. It was, over-engineered, and Rolls-Royce wasn't into racing. They were more into endurance testing. In 1907, the very first Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost traveled an extremely long distance for a long period of time in succession without a breakdown, and that earned them the moniker of the best car in the world. And that's always been, engineering first, but certainly those bespoke features that, certain people can afford.
Rolls-Royce didn't necessarily represent advanced engineering. They weren't really inventing anything revolutionary, and they weren't really pushing the outer envelope of automotive engineering. But what they were doing was creating durability, reliability, repeatability. They were introducing some high-quality engineering principles to the automotive world, especially in the earliest days when things were a little dodgy. And buying a new car wasn't necessarily a guarantee for something that worked perfectly. But the Rolls-Royce organization figured out how to over-engineer these things and make them incredibly reliable, and that's actually how they formed their first reputation as being the best car in the world.
So being the executive director of both organizations is certainly it's an extreme honor. These are the proper motor cars, and I am the caretaker of the organizations that recognize them and celebrate them. So it's a thrill to work with not only the cars and the history and the lore, but other like-minded people who celebrate the proper motor car.
What I will say is that the Rolls-Royce Owners Club has been a wonderful experience to belong to. Ultimately these clubs start out around the vehicle, but they tend to wind up being more about the people that are involved and the friendships that you make within those clubs.
It's all about the cars until you join, and then you realize that all of your friends are made through the club and the foundation. So people come for the cars, stay for the people.